everybody. This is Patrick Motes, your host for today's Comcats episode of Say It With Your Chest, where we look to answer your questions around the Augusta area. Today on the show, I am joined by the Chief of Augusta University Police Department, Chief Jim Lyon. Chief Lyon, welcome in today.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of want to just jump right on in and just kind of talk about what AUPD does on a daily basis. So what are some of the primary operations they're tasked with on a daily basis?
So yeah, thanks for asking. So our biggest part of Augusta University Police Department is our patrol division. So that's the patrol officers that you see in our patrol vehicles and on our bikes and walking on foot. So that's the largest sort of division within Augusta University Police Department. It's most visible.
Is that like what part of that patrolling is Augusta responsible for here in Augusta in that division?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we are responsible for all of Augusta University's police department, or all of Augusta University's jurisdiction. So any property that Augusta University owns, and that includes the hospital.
Okay, so like any limitations to that, like anything outside of actual Augusta University itself that you guys may help step in with?
Yeah, so Georgia code actually gives us 500 feet within any jurisdiction within any property that Augusta University owns. So 500 yards from, say, the Cyber Center, or 500 yards from Health Sciences campus or Somerville campus. So we generally don't exercise that full 500 yards, but we do want to make sure that our campus community is safe, not just on campus proper, but within the places our student, staff, and faculty will travel within those sort of 500 yards.
So if something was to happen outside of, let's say, like somewhere on the health science campus, it was a little over 500 yards away, would you guys possibly go to maybe handle security for that to make sure if any other law enforcement divisions would take care of it, just provide that extra barrier in case things did escalate?
Yeah, so we have a really good working relationship with Richmond County Sheriff's Office. So if something happens outside our jurisdiction but really close to our campus, it may impact our campus, we will assist. Either we will be first on the scene or be a close second to Richmond County and help them out. We have a memorandum of understanding with Richmond County, so we can help each other out. It's a good working relationship between us.
Yeah, I think that's really important to have, especially as much as the university grows and the city grows and stuff like that. I think having that mutual relationship will definitely help provide a safer area. My next question to you is, so AUPD is more than just the patrol division. There's a lot of different divisions. I know that some people might see the CPAR operations car and maybe even stuff behind the scenes they don't see. So what are some of the different divisions that you guys have here at AUPD, and what is their specific role?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Augusta University Police Department is broken up into 4 different divisions with the addition of CPAR, as you mentioned. One of the biggest divisions, as I mentioned, was the Patrol Operations Division, where our uniformed patrol officers, ride around in patrol vehicles. They're the sort of the first people that folks see. The second division is our Support Services Division. It entails our records, all of our records management, all our reports when they go through the system. They're managed in our records division. Our dispatch center. So if somebody needs assistance, they call into our dispatch center, and those folks are fantastic at working with our public and making sure that we are providing good resources to our community, getting emergency services out when necessary. So they are sort of our first line of defense in terms of capturing information and disseminating information to the officers on the street. So that's a really big and important division within our department. The Support Services Division also is responsible for our recruitment and retention efforts within our department. As you may know, the nation as a whole, in terms of policing, are having problems in recruitment and retention of police officers. And so they play a really important role in making sure that we're hiring candidates, good candidates that fit our characteristic and what we're looking for to service the Augusta University community. So they play a really big role in shaping the culture within our department. And then the other one is, another one is Professional Standards Division. So our Professional Standards Division is responsible for all of our department's training. It's responsible for policy development and review of all of those policies, which is a very important piece. And then the other part of their responsibilities is accreditation. So we are accredited police department within the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. And then last but not least is the accountability piece. So they're also responsible for conducting internal investigations. And so when our officers may use force, which isn't very often, but when they use force, all of our use of force reports are reviewed by our Professional Standards Division, and then reviewed by me. So, and we look for things like making sure that officers are consistent with our policies on all things, using their body cameras and those sorts of things, but also in terms of our use of force. And we also look in those for policy failures. So we have a set of policy and guidelines, but we always look for opportunities to improve. And so that's one of the ways that we do that. And then our last division is our Community Services Division. And this is a really big and important part of our organization. One of the things that Augusta University Police Department is, our guiding philosophy is community policing and community engagement, and that's really important to us. And so, community services really guides that sort of conversation. But we also use what we call one-by-one policing. So, in terms of community policing, it's not just necessarily a program where we do coffee with a cop and rape aggression defense and go out to educate students on drunk driving and those sorts of things. But it's also those personal engagements with our community, students, staff, and faculty. So it could be something as simple as responding to somebody to help them with opening a car door, with the electric keys in their car, or jumping a battery, or it could be something a lot more important, like a safety concern. And so we take those opportunities to engage the community. And so that community services piece is really big in our department. And then lastly, you mentioned CPAR.
Yep.
CPAR is very important, plays a really important role within the university. It's the emergency management arm of our university. And, as I said, they play a really big role in making sure that we establish appropriate emergency response procedures and educate folks on that.
Well, that was all really helpful information and really actually fascinating to learn about, which kind of leads me into my next question of, let's say you were saying, we have everything that from, lock keys in a car, jumping a battery, or if something serious was to arise. What is AUPD equipped to handle here if something was to arise, maybe of that nature? Because we have lots of students and faculty and loved ones here that, people want to come home safely every day. And y'all too. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility you have in yourselves in the department. So what is something that you guys are equipped to handle here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we are actually a full service law enforcement agency. So if somebody thinks about the police department that services wherever they came from, wherever they live, we are also equipped to do everything a municipal police department can do. We don't necessarily have a lot of crime, and I attribute that to a lot of the good work that our police department, our officers do. But I also contribute it to the level of engagement we have with our university community because, community safety is a shared responsibility. And so we are really fortunate to have such a great community in that way. But we are able to investigate all kinds of crimes, if necessary. And I'll just draw your attention to, the things that are sort of top of mind for a lot of people with the things in the community with, active shooter stuff going on.
Right.
We see that a lot in the media, and Augusta University Police Department, along with our CPAR office, does a lot of training in terms of making sure that we're prepared for something like that. And part of that training is making sure that we're educating our community on what their role is in an active threat event. But we make sure that our officers are prepared. We provide them the appropriate equipment. So we have rifles, breaching tools, those things, that hardware if we need it in the case of an event like that. But we also train with area agencies. Richmond County Sheriff's Office, the Marshal's Office.
Do you train with any like state or federal agencies on the side?
Yeah, GBI, the FBI. Matter of fact, May 18th of this past year, we had a full-scale functional exercise where we simulated an active shooter event at the Fine Arts Theater, and it was held off campus at a school. But we went through all of the things that we would encounter in an active threat event. So our officers going in and neutralizing the threat, making sure that we were caring for the victims as the scene unfolded. And there's a lot of, as you might imagine, there's a lot of moving parts to that whole scene.
Right. I mean, you have EMS and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it was a community-wide event where we made sure that we included the whole community because if something like that were ever to occur, we would need the whole community.
And is there any like regular training that you put your officers through to make sure they are efficient in their duties on a daily basis, or anything that could arise, really?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we are mandated to have what we call the governor's initiative in training, de-escalation training, use of force training, firearms training, those sorts of things. But we go far and above what the state requires for our training. So we're always training our officers. Matter of fact, we use the term every day is a training day. So, I mentioned our policy manuals earlier. We have a period where when an officer comes into duty, they will go to roll call, and then at some point during their day, they're required to do a daily training bulletin. And that daily training bulletin is reflective of some of our policies. So some of our high liability policies to make sure that officers get continual training on that. And then we send officers to Georgia Public Safety Training Center and some other venues for training. We have training come to us, but we do a lot of training for officers.
Well, that is very comforting to know. I've always felt like you're a student at AU. I've always felt like the campus has been safe and that there is a show of presence from y'all. Just being on campus, driving around and stuff. I had my two last questions for you is, so on campus, you guys have those blue posts that are set up where you could hit something and has like a blue light and a siren on it. If someone was to hit that for any reason, what would basically be how would that process work? So maybe if someone who is listening to this would know how it would, how it would function. So that way they wouldn't panic because someone needs dire help. Most people are going to be freaking out.
Yeah, that's a good question too. So those are emergency phones, and so how they operate is you just go up and push the button, and the button, when the button is pushed, it dials our dispatch center, and our dispatch center has an idea about where that blue phone is based on the map in the location, and then they will send an officer out. Whether they get information, whether the person on the other end who pushed the blue phone or emergency phone says anything or not, our officers are going to respond. So
it is an open mic, so they can't, would the dispatch officer be able to communicate with them or just receive information?
Yeah, it's a two-way communication, but the dispatcher doesn't rely on that two-way communication to send an officer out there.
And my last question to you, so this past week was homecoming week here at Augusta, and I think it was like last Wednesday or Thursday night, I don't remember which one it was, but there was the huge fireworks show that Augusta put on. There's a lot of fireworks here. Fireworks are great, but there can be a lot of danger with that. What is something that AUPD has to do to make sure that the scene is completely safe, and what kind of preparation goes into an event like that, especially as big as homecoming?
Yeah, honestly, Augusta University Police Department doesn't have a whole lot to do with the fireworks show itself, other than to be there and monitor for safety. The permit to use the fireworks has to go through the city and has to go through our fire safety within Augusta University, and to make sure that all the safety precautions are adhered to and those sorts of things. But yeah, Augusta University is usually there at large events, to monitor for safety.
Well, that's great. And I really appreciate you coming on today. That will wrap up our show. Thank you for tuning into the Comcast today on our episode of Say It With Your Chest. A special thanks to our guest, Chief Jim Lyon, for joining us today. A big thanks to our producer, Kenzie McDaniel, and editor, Jack Costco. Thank you to Jasmine Garcia, who is our TVC Lab coordinator. We are coming to you from the TVC Lab here at Augusta University. The opinions stated here are those of the individuals. You can find us at aubellringer.com, YouTube, and on social media. Please send your comments to bellringerproduction@gmail.com. Have a great day and listen again soon. We will be back with you with another edition of Say It With Your Chest. Until then, this is Patrick Motes saying so long. We're out.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank